The economic crisis hit when Sri Lanka got a bailout package from the IMF. The island country is facing its worst economic crisis. Countries like India and China have given assurance to the IMF, which helped Colombo secure an IMF bailout. China seeks territorial gain in the geopolitics of the Indian Ocean, and so India wants to counter the Chinese influence for its maritime security. But in between their tussle, another actor is entering the island's geopolitics, which has some implication that need a closer look. Hi and welcome to TFI Post. I am your host Shikhar Tripathi. Let's begin with the video report. It all started when the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Sri Lanka, Dr. G. Weerasinghe, demanded the government clarify whether American intelligence agency CIA chief William Burns visited the country or not. If it was so, what was discussed? Weerasinghe called a press conference and alleged that Burns and his delegation arrived in special aircraft on February 14th and that their flight had not been subject to immigration controls. The ruling party's former leader Udaya Gammampi also questioned the government and accused it of giving no justification. He stated that 4 proposals that are detrimental to Sri Lanka's security were discussed. As per his claim, the 4 points included are setting up an intelligence analysis center, donation of a biometric immigration control system, the granting of access to submarine telecommunication cable and data, the review of the status of force agreement, which is SOFA. On February 16th, just 2 days after the so-called visit took place, the US delegation led by Mr. J. Royal, US high-ranking official of Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, visited Colombo. But again, the details of the meeting were withheld, and so speculation again took over the political discourse. It was alleged that the US is planning a military base in Sri Lanka. The speculation was so profound that Royal himself had to dismiss rumors about the United States establishing a military base in the country's strategically important Trincomalee district. But his statement too changed nothing, because the delegation arrived with 2 C-17 Globemaster aircraft at the international airport near Colombo. The 20% delegation used 2 aircraft with a combined capacity of about 200 people, raising eyebrows in the country. In between all this, there was something very interesting going on related to Nepal. Reports suggest that Burns' visit to the Nepal was scheduled for 15th February, where he had to stay for 18 hours. But Nepal barred his visit because the timing was not suitable. There are speculations that C-70s was escorting William Burns instead of the delegation. But as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, there is something going on between Colombo and Washington. In a period of 15 days, 2 high-level US visits to the island took place. Previously, the US Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs, Victoria Nuland, also visited Colombo during an official visit to South Asia and Qatar. Developments are yet to be officially announced, but US indulged with Sri Lanka is raising questions regarding its policy in the Indo-Pacific and Indian Ocean. In 2021, it was said that the US was looked to deploy 60% of its surface ship in the Indo-Pacific region, and so it wants safe territory in the Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, Andaman and Nicobar Island. The US was planning to use the bases for refueling and logistical support, and for that reason, the speculation cannot be simply squashed off. But what about India? New Delhi can be more reliable in the Indian Ocean, right? Actually, the LEMOA agreement signed between India and USA is perceived by many as a framework that will open the doors for establishing military bases in each other's country. However, India's stand on this has been very clear. It does not allow any country to use its territory for geopolitical rivalries. So maybe the US is looking towards financially torn Sri Lanka to negotiate the establishment of the military base. The SOFA agreement, which opposition leader in Sri Lanka are talking about, is blowing the whistle for such debates. Now, what is SOFA? It is actually a framework under which the signatory countries provides a base to the US military, giving permission to the US personnel to operate. It defines how the domestic law will apply to the military and its operation. So basically, it is considered to be against political sovereignty. The US government has been negotiating SOFA with Sri Lanka for a long time, and at this moment, SOFA is more likely bargaining. One thing is pretty clear. All this posturing that happened is targeted against China. However, it has some pros and cons too. Sri Lanka is debt trapped by China, which is currently posing the biggest threat to India. To that extent, India and the USA are in the same boat. So this will certainly benefit New Delhi as the Pentagon will contain Chinese influence. But the bigger concern is that the military base and intelligence analysis center in Sri Lanka are currently pulling the conflict directly to the door of the Indian subcontinent. Apart from backing the US Army and Navy to deal with any uncertainty in the Indo-Pacific, the base and intelligence analysis center could also be used to deal with the growing influence of China in Middle East and Persian Gulf, where the US influence is constantly declining. This raises concern for India. The current conflict between Russia and Ukraine has made the hostility more acute, and as a result, scholars are viewing the current geopolitical discourse as Cold War 2.0. The dynamic of this Cold War are different from those of the erstwhile 20th century war. The conflict is more like a proxy geopolitical war between the US headed west and China. So the center of geopolitical context is undoubtedly the Indo-Pacific, and this has implications for India also. The so far peaceful Indian Ocean can be compromised in that context, so it is vital for New Delhi to keep a close eye on the unfolding developments. It desperately needs to understand that neutrality must not be reduced to non-alignment, but rather that it should be focused on sorting geopolitical equations, at least in its vicinity, in the favor of the country.